Alex had always considered himself a practical man. He wasn't one to fall for expensive gadgets or flashy items, but after losing his job as an engineer at a tech startup, he had little left to spend on anything other than the bare essentials. Rent, food, and the occasional coffee were about all he could afford. So when he came across a listing for a spaceship online, selling for the laughable price of $400, he couldn't help but mock it. It seemed almost too absurd. A spaceship for $400. The idea sounded ridiculous. Who would sell something like that for such a small sum? He clicked on the listing out of pure curiosity, expecting to find a badly written scam, but what he saw instead made him pause. The spaceship was old, its design more like a relic from an ancient time than anything remotely modern. The listing described it as a vintage model, functional but quirky. It even said that the ship had a lot of character. Character? Alex rolled his eyes. If the price didn't seem like a joke, then the description definitely did. He wasn't interested in a rusting hunk of metal that would probably fall, apart the moment he tried to fly it. But at that price, he figured there was no harm in seeing it for himself. A few clicks later, the spaceship was his. The seller's contact information was just as strange as the listing. No name, no address, just a shipping number. Alex couldn't believe his luck. He'd just bought a spaceship for the price of a new laptop. Still, the engineer in him couldn't resist the thought of tinkering with it, even if it turned out to be a pile of junk. The ship arrived a week later. To Alex's surprise, it was packaged securely, arriving in a large crate at his doorstep. The box itself was surprisingly light for something supposedly containing a spaceship, but he shrugged it off. Maybe it was just the parts and not the whole thing. After carefully cutting open the crate, he looked at the object inside. His first thought was that it looked like something straight out of a 1980s sci-fi movie. A strange mix of rust-colored metal, mismatched panels, and what appeared to be alien-like engravings on the sides. It certainly didn't look like the futuristic marvels he had seen in the films. But it also didn't look like something that would break apart easily either. It looked solid enough, though the odd shapes and strange design made it clear this was no ordinary spacecraft. He had to admit he was intrigued. Was this a prototype? Or just an elaborate joke? He walked around the ship, tapping on its surface, inspecting the hull. It wasn't until he peered inside the hatch that he noticed something strange. The inside was immaculate, like the ship had never been used. There were control panels with glowing lights, a comfortable chair in the cockpit, and even a small storage compartment. Everything looked well maintained. In fact, it looked brand new. Is this for real? Alex muttered to himself. He ran his hands over the smooth console and immediately felt a slight hum, as if the ship itself were alive. He laughed nervously. It was almost like it was waiting for him to start it up. With a roll of his eyes, Alex sat in the cockpit and started flipping switches. He wasn't expecting anything to happen, and for a while, nothing did. The ship sat still in his garage, silent and unmoving. "All right, let's see if this thing actually works," he said with a smirk, pressing a button that looked like it might activate the ship's systems. To his surprise, the ship's console lit up. It wasn't just a simple flicker. The lights pulsed with a rhythmic glow, as if the ship were slowly coming to life. Alex leaned forward, his curiosity piqued. The humming sound he had heard earlier grew louder, now accompanied by a soft, melodic whir. Then, without warning, a soft, feminine voice emerged from the speakers. "Thank you for waking me," it said. Alex froze. His fingers hovered over the console. He blinked, unsure if his mind was playing tricks on him. The voice had sounded real, like it had come from somewhere within the ship. He glanced around, half expecting someone to jump out and laugh at him for falling for such an elaborate prank, but no one appeared. The voice continued. "You are my new pilot. Are you ready to begin?" Alex's heart raced. "What the heck?" he whispered to himself. He glanced down at the console, expecting it to be some sort of glitch, but the voice came again. Don't worry, I won't bite." The voice sounded amused, almost playful. Was this some sort of AI? No, that didn't make sense. A spaceship that could talk? Alex had seen some advanced tech in his time, but nothing like this. Still, there was something strange about it. The way the voice was calm, almost comforting. The way it seemed so real. Alex couldn't help himself. Despite the oddity of it all, he pressed a button to respond. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice shaking slightly. The voice replied, "I am Zara. I am your ship, and you are my pilot." Alex stared at the console, mouth agape. This couldn't be happening. He had bought a spaceship, yes, but he never expected it to have a mind of its own. He laughed nervously. "Well, Zara, nice to meet you," he said sarcastically. "Guess I've got a lot to learn." The voice replied, "Indeed, but I will guide you." At that moment, Alex knew one thing for certain. His life had just taken a turn for the bizarre. What he had thought was a $400 mistake was becoming something much, much more, and it was only the beginning. Alex sat in the cockpit, staring at the blinking lights of the console in front of him. His mind was racing. The spaceship, which he had bought as a joke, was now speaking to him. Not only that, but it sounded alive. He couldn't wrap his head around it. Was it some kind of pre-recorded message? A clever trick by the seller? Or was this ship really capable of independent thought? The voice, calm and soothing, echoed in his mind again. "Are you ready to begin?" Zara asked, her tone filled with what Alex could only describe as curiosity. He stared at the ship's controls, unsure of what to do next. He had expected this to be some sort of mechanical object, not a talking sentient vessel. But then again, nothing about this situation had been normal since the moment he pressed that "Buy Now" button. The ship's sleek, ancient design, the way it hummed with life, none of it made sense, and yet there it was. Yeah, sure," Alex muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. He pressed a few buttons hesitantly, half expecting the ship to remain still. Instead, the console blinked more brightly, as if reacting to his touch. A strange sensation ran through, his fingers like static electricity, but it didn't feel uncomfortable. It felt right, like something was connecting. Zara's voice filled the cockpit again. "Initiating startup sequence. Please prepare for takeoff." Alex blinked in surprise. "Wait, what? Takeoff? You're serious?" "Of course," Zara responded, almost as if she found his hesitation amusing. "I am fully operational. I require you to pilot me." Despite his disbelief, Alex couldn't help but be intrigued. A small part of him, the curious engineer that still existed within him, wanted to see just what this ship could do. The other part, the rational part, told him this was probably a huge mistake. But before he could think too much about it, the ship's systems kicked into action. The entire cockpit lit up, and the ship vibrated ever so slightly. Alex's seat adjusted itself automatically, as though it was molding itself to fit his body perfectly. The feeling was strange. Almost. Like the ship was alive, adjusting to him, reacting to his presence. "Are you comfortable?" Zara's voice asked, as if she could sense his discomfort. Alex didn't know how to answer. He felt a strange mix of nervousness and excitement. He had never flown a spacecraft before. Heck, he hadn't even been near one. But now, here he was, sitting in the cockpit of a living, talking spaceship, about to fly it. The thought was both exhilarating and terrifying. "Yeah," Alex finally said, trying to sound confident. "Let's do this." Without further warning, Zara smoothly lifted off from the ground, gliding into the air with an ease that surprised Alex. The ship didn't lurch or shake like he had imagined a spaceship might. Instead, it rose gently, as if it had done this 1,000 times before. The controls in front of him shifted slightly, as if guiding him without him needing to do anything. "Where are we going?" Alex asked, his voice still a bit shaky. "Wherever you desire," Zara replied, her tone as calm as ever. "I can take you anywhere in the galaxy." Alex's eyes widened. The galaxy? That seemed a bit much. He had only been joking when he first bought the ship, and now it felt like he was on the verge of something far bigger than he had ever expected. "Anywhere?" he repeated, unsure if he was hearing things correctly. "Yes, Alex," Zara answered, her voice soft and almost hypnotic. "I was designed for exploration. You too are an explorer. Together, we can see places no one has ever dreamed of." The ship swiveled, almost as if it was waiting for Alex to give it direction. He hadn't even thought about where he wanted to go. His mind was still reeling from the fact that he was actually flying a spaceship. He glanced out of the cockpit window, watching as the city below him grew smaller and smaller. "I don't know where to start," he muttered. "I'm not sure how to flow." "You, really." Zara's voice came through again, as smooth and patient as ever. "You need not worry. I can assist you. Trust me, Alex. I will guide you." With that, the ship began to respond to his every slight movement. It felt as if the two of them were one, like the ship and Alex were connected, like they shared the same thoughts. Each time he thought about turning or going in a certain direction, Zara responded almost instantly. There was no need for complex commands or switches. Everything just worked, as if the ship could read his mind. For the next few minutes, Alex simply let the ship take him higher, rising through the clouds until he could see the horizon stretching out before him. The world below had become a distant blur, and Alex was left staring at the vast, endless sky. "Is this real?" he whispered to himself. "Am I dreaming?" "No, Alex," Zara replied almost gently. "This is real. You are flying a living ship, and I am here with you." Alex felt a strange sense of peace wash over him. There was no fear, no anxiety, just an overwhelming sense of awe. How was this possible? How had he gone from being a broke engineer to sitting in the cockpit of a sentient spaceship? Everything was so surreal. "All right," Alex said, finally finding his voice. "Let's see what you can really do." He leaned forward, giving Zara a slight command with his mind. The ship responded immediately, shooting forward at a speed Alex had never experienced. The world below him blurred, and the stars above seemed to grow closer. It was like he had stepped into another world, one where the boundaries of reality seemed to bend and stretch. "Faster?" Zara asked, her tone playful. Alex couldn't help but grin. "Yeah, let's do it." In the blink of an eye, the ship accelerated, streaking through the sky like a comet. Alex's heart raced, but it wasn't fear. This was pure excitement. For the first time in a long time, he felt alive. He was no longer just an engineer stuck in a dead-end job. He was part of something bigger now, something far greater. The ship continued to soar, taking him into the unknown. Alex had no idea what the future held. But one thing was certain. He was no longer just a man with a $400 spaceship. He was now part of something extraordinary, and whatever came next, he was ready for it. As the days passed, Alex's life began to change in ways he couldn't fully comprehend. He had always thought of himself as a grounded, practical man. But now, with Zara, the talking, living spaceship by his side, everything seemed different. The more time he spent with her, the more he realized that this ship was not just a machine. It was something far more advanced, and it held secrets he was only beginning to uncover. Every time Alex sat in the cockpit, Zara would speak to him, guiding him through the systems, teaching him how to navigate and control the ship. But she didn't just offer instructions. She seemed to know exactly how Alex was feeling. When he was nervous, her voice would soften, offering reassurance. When he was excited, she responded with a tone that made him feel like they were partners in this journey. One evening, after another smooth flight over the city, Alex leaned back in the pilot's chair and asked the question that had been bothering him for days. Zara, what exactly are you? I mean, you're not like any ship I've ever seen. You talk, you think, you feel alive. Zara's voice, always calm and patient, filled the cockpit. I am not simply a ship, Alex. I am an ancient AI, created by a civilization long lost to time. I was designed to be more than just a vessel. I was created to be a companion, a guide, and a protector. Alex's brow furrowed. An ancient AI? What do you mean? Who created you? There was a brief silence, and then Zara responded, her voice tinged with what Alex could almost hear as sadness. I was built by a race of beings known as the Zalari. They were a peaceful and advanced civilization that lived long before your time. They designed me to travel the stars, to explore the galaxy, and to protect their legacy. But their civilization fell, destroyed by forces beyond their control, and I was left behind, forgotten. Alex listened intently, the weight of her words sinking in. So you're a survivor? Of a civilization that's gone? Yes, Zara replied. The Zalari's fall was swift, and their knowledge has been lost to time. But their technology remains, scattered across the stars. That is why I exist, to keep their legacy alive, to preserve what they knew, what they created. And now, Alex, I am bound to you, to humanity. Alex felt a mix of awe and confusion. But why me? Why did you choose me? Zara's voice softened. I did not choose you, Alex. The choice was made long ago. Your species, humanity, was known to the Zalari. They saw the potential in your kind, the possibility that you would rise to greatness. They believed that one day humans would become the stewards of the stars, the inheritors of knowledge long forgotten. Alex leaned forward, staring at the control panel. Wait a minute. The Zalari knew about humans. But how? We've only just started exploring space. That is the mystery, Zara said. The Zalari left behind many artifacts, many pieces of their knowledge. Some of it may have been lost, but some of it is still out there. I was designed to help guide humanity, to help you uncover the truth of your past and to protect you from those who would seek to stop your advancement. A shiver ran down Alex's spine. Protect us from who? There are many dangers in the galaxy, Alex. Not all races are friendly. There are those who would see humanity crushed before you can rise to your full potential. Some have already discovered Earth, but they have not yet made their move, and I will make sure they don't. The weight of Zara's words hung in the air, and Alex could feel the gravity of the situation pressing down on him. His mind raced. Earth wasn't ready for an intergalactic war, let alone the kind of enemies Zara was talking about. He had thought of space as a vast, uncharted wilderness, filled with potential. But now, he was beginning to realize that it was also a dangerous place, a place where humanity might not be as alone as they once thought. So, what's our next step? Alex asked, his voice steady, though his heart was pounding. How do we stop these enemies? Zara's response was calm, as always. The first step is knowledge. I have been programmed with the ancient wisdom of the Zalari. Together, we can unlock their secrets. But we must move quickly. The longer we wait, the more vulnerable Earth becomes. There are ancient artifacts scattered across the galaxy. Some of them hold great power, power that can help you defend your world. It is time to begin searching for them. Alex felt a surge of determination. He had never signed up for this. Flying a spaceship, uncovering ancient alien secrets, saving humanity. But now that he was in the middle of it, there was no turning back. He had been given a chance to make a difference, and he wasn't going to waste it. He looked out at the stars, the endless expanse of space stretching before him. "All right, Zara," he said, his voice filled with purpose. "Let's find these artifacts. Let's make sure Earth's ready for whatever comes next." Zara's voice sounded almost pleased. "I knew you would understand, Alex. Together, we will uncover the truth of your past and secure the future of humanity." With those words, the ship began to hum with energy, as if it, too, was ready for what lay ahead. The journey was just beginning. And Alex knew one thing for certain. He wasn't just a passenger on this ride. He was a part of something much larger, something that could change the fate of the entire galaxy. As the ship soared into the unknown, Alex felt a strange sense of hope. The future was uncertain, but with Zara by his side, he knew that humanity's journey into the stars had only just begun. Alex sat in the cockpit, staring out at the stars. The silence around him was almost deafening, the kind of stillness that made him realize how small and insignificant Earth seemed in the vastness of space. But it also made him feel something else, something exciting. He wasn't just an engineer anymore. He was a part of something greater, something he never could have imagined. He was flying a living spaceship, one that had been around long before. Humans even set foot on the moon. Zara, the ship, had become his guide and companion. She was more than just a machine. She was intelligent, kind, and patient. Each time he flew her, he learned more about her systems, about the advanced technology that had been hidden away for centuries. The more he learned, the more he realized that Zara was not just a ship. She was a piece of history, a key to understanding the galaxy. But today was different. Today, Zara had promised him a test flight, a real test. Up until now, they had been flying around Earth, exploring the atmosphere and getting to know each other. But Zara had hinted at something more, something that would show Alex just how advanced and powerful she truly was. It was time for him to experience what Zara was capable of. "Are you ready, Alex?" Zara's voice came through the cockpit speakers, as calm and soothing as always. Alex took a deep breath. "Yeah, I think so. What's the test?" "You'll see," Zara replied. "Just trust me. I'll guide you." With a sense of anticipation, Alex gently tapped a button on the control panel. The ship hummed beneath him, its systems coming to life in response. He felt a slight jolt as the engines powered up, the ship lifting off the ground with a smoothness that surprised him every time. It was as if Zara was reading his thoughts, anticipating his every move. The sensation was like nothing Alex had ever felt before. It was as if he and the ship were connected, two parts of a whole. "Take us up," Zara instructed. Alex did as she asked, gently pushing the controls forward. The ship soared upward, leaving the planet behind. He could see the curvature of Earth below him, the familiar blues and greens of the oceans and continents fading into the blackness of space. It was breathtaking. "Let's go faster," Zara said, her voice taking on a playful tone. Alex grinned. "All right, let's see what you got." He pushed the throttle forward, and in an instant the ship accelerated. The stars outside the cockpit blurred, and the ship's engines roared to life as it shot forward into the void. The feeling was exhilarating, like he was flying on the edge of a dream. The controls were so responsive, so intuitive, that it felt like he wasn't even flying the ship. It was as if the ship itself was guiding him, leading him toward the unknown. "Impressive, isn't it?" Zara's voice filled the cockpit. Alex didn't respond immediately. He was too busy focusing on the ship's performance. They were moving, faster than anything he had ever seen, faster than any aircraft he had ever worked on, faster than any human-made technology could ever hope to achieve. But even as they accelerated, Zara's movements were smooth, controlled. There was no turbulence, no shaking, no fear. It was as if the ship had been designed to glide effortlessly through the cosmos. Suddenly, the ship jerked to the side and Alex's heart skipped a beat. But before he could react, Zara's voice came through again, calm and reassuring. "Don't worry, I'm testing our maneuverability now." Alex raised an eyebrow. "Maneuverability? How are we doing?" "We are performing at optimal levels," Zara replied. "I can turn on a dime, and my sensors can track and respond to any movement in the galaxy." Alex's eyes widened. "You're telling me you can avoid anything in space? Like asteroids? Other ships? Anything?" "Correct," Zara said. "My systems are designed to be adaptive. I can predict and avoid collisions with ease." Alex was speechless. The idea of a ship that could avoid anything in space was beyond anything he had ever imagined. But there was more. Zara had more tricks up her sleeve than Alex could even begin to fathom. "Hold on," Zara said suddenly, a hint of excitement in her voice. "I'm going to show you something." Before Alex could respond, the ship shot forward at an even faster speed, its engines roaring as it surged into the vast emptiness of space. The stars outside the cockpit stretched into long lines, creating a streak of light that made Alex's breath catch in his throat. He felt like he was flying faster than the speed of light, moving through space with a speed he had never thought possible. "Zara, what is this?" Alex asked, his voice filled with awe. "This is my full speed," Zara replied. "I can travel across the galaxy in a fraction of the time it would take most ships." Alex couldn't believe it. A few seconds earlier, they had been flying at a speed he thought was already incredible. Now, they were moving faster than anything he could imagine. It was as if the ship was bending the very laws of physics to its will. They flew like this, for what felt like hours, though Alex knew it had only been a few minutes. The experience was like nothing he had ever felt. It was as if they were traveling through time itself, moving faster than the world around them could keep up. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Zara slowed the ship down, bringing them to a gentle stop. "Impressive, right?" Zara's voice was full of pride. Alex let out a shaky breath. "That was unbelievable." Zara's voice softened. "This is only the beginning, Alex. There is so much more for us to discover." Alex sat back in his seat, his mind racing with possibilities. He had known that Zara was special, but he hadn't realized just how powerful she truly was. This wasn't just any spaceship. This was a vessel built for the stars, capable of speeds and maneuvers that defied human understanding. As the ship began its descent back toward Earth, Alex felt a sense of awe. He wasn't just a pilot anymore. He was part of something extraordinary, something that could change the course of history. He glanced at the control panel, the glowing lights flickering gently. The future was out there, waiting for him. And with Zara by his side, Alex knew he was ready for whatever came next. As the days passed, Alex's relationship with Zara grew stronger. What started as an unlikely purchase of a spaceship for $400 had turned into an adventure that defied everything he had ever known. Zara wasn't just a machine. She was a guide, a companion, and, more than anything, a key to a larger mystery that was waiting to be unlocked. Alex had already learned so much from Zara. The ship had taught him how to pilot it, how to use its advanced technology, and how to feel connected to the stars themselves. But the more he learned, the more he realized there was so much more to Zara and to the world she came from that he still didn't understand. One evening, as they soared high above Earth's atmosphere, Zara's voice came through the speakers, again, more serious than usual. "Alex," she said, her tone calm but firm, "it's time for you to know the truth about me, about where I came from and why I'm here." Alex felt his heart skip a beat. He had known that there was more to Zara than just a ship, but he had never expected her to reveal this much. He sat up straighter in his seat, his curiosity piqued. "I'm listening," Alex said, his voice steady but filled with anticipation. Zara hesitated for a moment before she began, her voice soft, as if she were sharing a secret that had been buried for centuries. I was created by the Zalari, an ancient civilization that once ruled over a vast section of the galaxy. They were peaceful and wise, their technology far beyond anything humans could imagine. But their downfall was swift. Their enemies were many, and the Zalari's enemies destroyed their world, leaving behind only fragments of their civilization. I was one of the last creations of the Zalari, built to protect and preserve their legacy. Alex's mind raced. So, the Zalari, they were an alien race? Correct, Zara replied. The Zalari were among the first civilizations to master the stars. They had a deep understanding of the universe, of science, and of the very fabric of time itself. They built ships like me, ships designed not only to travel the stars but to protect the knowledge they gathered. Alex leaned back in his seat, trying to wrap his mind around everything Zara was saying. But why are you telling me all this? Now? I mean, I still don't understand why you chose me, or why humanity is important to you. Zara was silent for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully. The Zalari foresaw that humanity would one day rise to become a powerful force in the galaxy. They believed that humans were capable of great things, more than just the technology you've developed so far. You see, Alex, you are not just a passenger in this galaxy. You are the inheritors of a great legacy, one that the Zalari foresaw, long before Earth even knew of the stars. Alex's mind was racing now. Wait, so you mean the Zalari knew humans were going to be important before we even knew about space? That's right, Zara confirmed. They saw your potential, but they also knew that the galaxy was full of dangers. They knew that powerful forces would try to stop humanity's rise. That's why they left behind artifacts, hidden across the galaxy. These artifacts contain the knowledge, the power, that humanity will need to survive and thrive. Alex's breath caught in his throat. You're saying these artifacts are still out there? And we can find them? Yes, Zara replied. They are scattered across distant planets and forgotten worlds. But the danger is real, Alex. The Zalari's enemies are still out there, watching. They know that humanity is on the brink of awakening to the power that the Zalari left behind, and they will stop at nothing to prevent that from happening. Alex's heart began to race. He had known that there were risks involved, but hearing it straight from Zara made it all feel more real. The weight of what he had stumbled into was heavy. He wasn't just flying a spaceship now. He was part of something much bigger, something that could change the course of humanity's future. So, what do we do? Alex asked, his voice steady but filled with urgency. How do we find these artifacts? Zara's voice filled the cockpit again, full of determination. We start by seeking out the clues left behind by the Zalari. Their ancient knowledge will guide us to the artifacts. But we must be careful. There are others who want this knowledge, others who will stop at nothing to get it. Alex felt a sense of resolve build inside him. This was no longer just an adventure for him. This was something bigger than anything he had ever imagined. He was on the brink of uncovering humanity's lost legacy, and it was up to him to protect it. Where do we start? Alex asked, his voice filled with purpose. The first artifact is on a planet known as Noxara, Zara explained. It's a world that was once home to the Zalari, but it's been abandoned for centuries. The artifact there is hidden in a temple, deep beneath the surface. We must find it before others do. Alex didn't hesitate. Let's go. Let's find it. Without another word, Zara's engines hummed to life and the ship lifted off into the stars. Alex sat back in his seat, his mind racing. He didn't know what they would find on Noxara or what dangers lay ahead, but he knew one thing for certain. This journey was just beginning. He wasn't just a man with a spaceship anymore. He was a part of a story that stretched across the stars, a story that would shape the future of humanity. And as the ship sped toward their next destination, Alex couldn't help but feel that the galaxy was full of endless possibilities. The Zolari's legacy was waiting to be uncovered, and he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, with Zara by his side, he was ready to change the course of history. The stars stretched endlessly before Alex as he stared out of the cockpit window. The ship hummed gently beneath him, its advanced systems running smoothly as they sped toward their destination, Noxara, the planet that was rumored to hold one of the Zolari artifacts. But despite the excitement that bubbled within him, there was a nagging feeling at the back of his mind. Zara had told him about the dangers they would face on this journey, and she had made it clear that the galaxy was not a peaceful place. Alex had already seen Zara's power, how she could maneuver the ship with ease and defend herself when necessary. But even with all that power, the threat of enemies still lingered. There were those out there who knew about the Zolari's ancient knowledge, and they would stop at nothing to claim it for themselves. Zara had warned him that these enemies were dangerous, far more dangerous than anything Alex had ever encountered. "Zara," Alex said, breaking the silence, his voice filled with concern. "What exactly are we up against? You've mentioned these enemies, but I still don't fully understand who they are." Zara's voice, calm as always, filled the cockpit. "The enemies I speak of are an empire known as the Vorkai. They are ruthless, powerful, and have a long history of conquest. The Vorkai are determined to control the galaxy, and they will stop at nothing to achieve that goal. They have already discovered the existence of the Zolari artifacts and are hunting them down one by one." Alex frowned, trying to process what Zara had just told him. "An empire? Are they aliens?" "Yes," Zara replied. "The Vorkai are a technologically advanced species, and they have long sought to dominate other civilizations. They have been hunting for the Zolari artifacts for centuries, believing that they will give them the power to control the galaxy. If they find the artifacts before humanity does, they will use that knowledge to crush any resistance and establish their rule over everything." Alex felt a chill run down his spine. The idea of an empire with the power to wipe out entire civilizations was terrifying. But what made it worse was that these enemies weren't just an abstract threat. They were real, and they were actively searching for the same artifacts that Alex and Zara were. Alex nodded. He wasn't a military strategist, but he knew one thing. He didn't have to defeat the Vorkai's fleet. He just had to keep them away long enough for him and Zara to get to the temple and retrieve the artifact. Once they had it, they could leave before the Vorkai even knew what hit them. "All right, we'll be sneaky," Alex said, trying to sound confident. "Get us as close to the surface as you can. We'll land near the temple and go from there." Grabbed a small pack of supplies from the ship and made his way toward the temple entrance. As he approached, he could see the remnants of an ancient civilization. Strange symbols carved into the stone, remnants of Zolari technology scattered across the ground. It was a place of great power, and Alex couldn't help but feel that the temple was massive, its grand hallways leading to chambers that seemed to stretch endlessly. Alex moved carefully, scanning the area for any signs of danger. Zara's voice, calm and reassuring, filled his ear through the comm system. "Be cautious, Alex," she said. "The Zolari built these temples to protect their most valuable secrets. There are traps. You'll need to be quick and precise." "I know," Alex replied, his voice steady but filled with urgency. He felt the weight of responsibility bearing down on him. This wasn't just about a treasure hunt. This was about the survival of humanity. The Vorkai were ruthless, and if they obtained the artifact, they would use its knowledge to control the galaxy. Alex passed through several chambers, each one more elaborate than the last. Ancient relics lined the walls, tools, weapons, and artifacts, each bearing the unmistakable mark of the Zolari. He marveled at the craftsmanship, at how this forgotten civilization had once flourished. But there was no time to dwell on the past. The artifact he was looking for was deeper within the temple, hidden away for centuries. He could feel it calling. To him, a pull he couldn't explain. He reached the central chamber, a massive hall with a high, vaulted ceiling. In the center of the room was a pedestal, and on top of it a glowing artifact, an orb of intricate design, pulsing with energy. Alex approached it cautiously, every instinct telling him to be careful. "This is it," Alex whispered to himself, his eyes fixed on the artifact. He could feel its power, its potential. This was what they had been searching for. He reached out, his hand trembling slightly as he touched the cool surface of the orb. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath him, and the chamber's doors slammed shut with a deafening noise. Alex's heart skipped a beat as he spun around, his hand instinctively gripping the orb tighter. "Zara!" he shouted into the comm. "Something's happening." "I'm detecting movement," Zara replied urgently. "The Vorkai fleet has arrived. You need to hurry." Before Alex could react, the walls of the chamber began to shift. Stone slabs slid open, revealing hidden mechanisms and deadly traps. Laser beams shot across the room, narrowly missing Alex as he dove behind a column. For cover, his heart raced. The temple's defenses were activating, and he was trapped. "Stay calm, Alex." Zara's voice came through again, steady but filled with concern. "You can make it out. I'll guide you." Alex didn't waste a second. He sprinted toward the far side of the chamber, dodging laser beams and narrowly avoiding falling stone blocks. The walls around him shifted and closed in, creating a maze of obstacles designed to keep intruders away from the temple's heart. He could hear the distant hum of the Vorkai ships now, their presence looming over him like a storm. The Vorkai were closing in, and Alex couldn't afford to fail. The temple seemed to come alive, its ancient systems fighting to protect the artifact. But Alex's determination burned stronger. He had come this far, and there was no turning back. He had to make it out, and he had to make it out with the artifact. "Zara, open the doors," Alex shouted as he reached the end of the chamber where a massive stone door blocked his escape. "We don't have much time." "I'm working on it," Zara replied, her voice filled with tension. "Hang on." Alex's fingers gripped the orb tighter. He could feel its power, and for a moment he wondered if it was reacting to his emotions. Could it sense his desperation? Was it alive in some way? He didn't know, but he couldn't waste time thinking about it now. He had to move. The stone door ahead of him rumbled and began to rise, but the moment it opened, Alex heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps. He turned just in time to see a group of Vorkai soldiers entering the chamber, their dark, armored forms silhouetted against the dim light. Alex's heart sank. They had found him. "Zara!" Alex shouted again, his voice frantic. "I need help. Now!" "I'm coming, Alex. Hold on." Zara's voice came through, but the sound of her words was drowned out by the Vorkai soldiers' voices. The soldiers advanced, their weapons raised, their eyes locked on Alex and the artifact in his hands. One of them stepped forward, his voice deep and commanding. "Give us the artifact," he said. "It belongs to the Vorkai." Alex didn't hesitate. He raised the orb, feeling its power surge through him. "Not today," he muttered under his breath. With a sudden movement, Alex threw the orb toward the far side of the chamber. It landed with a loud thud and rolled across the floor, just as Zara's voice rang out. "I've got you, Alex." Zara's systems hummed to life as the ground beneath Alex shifted. The floor opened up, creating a path to the surface. The Vorkai soldiers turned to pursue, but Alex was already running, his path lit by the glow of the artifact. "Go! Go! Go!" Alex shouted as he leapt onto the moving platform. The walls around him began to collapse, and the Vorkai soldiers' angry shouts echoed through the temple. But Alex didn't look back. His eyes were fixed on the path ahead. As the temple's systems began to shut down, Zara guided him to the surface where the ship waited. The Vorkai were too far behind now, and Alex knew that they had won this round. The artifact was safe, and humanity's future was secure. For now. As the ship soared into the sky, Alex let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. He had done it. They had done it. They had stopped the Vorkai, and they had secured the artifact. But the journey wasn't over. There were more artifacts to find and more battles to fight. The fate of humanity was still uncertain, but with Zara by his side, Alex knew one thing for sure. They were ready for whatever came next. "Zara," Alex said as they left Noxara behind. "What now?" "We move on, Alex," Zara replied. "The galaxy is vast, and the journey is far from over. But together, we will face whatever comes next." And as the stars stretched out before them, Alex knew that this was only the beginning of an adventure that would change everything.